Unexpected transformation, how a single dad revealed the incredible strength of a female CEO. Mark wiped his brow with the back of his hand, the sun blazing down on Ridgewood as laughter from children echoed through the streets. His auto shop, nestled between crumbling buildings, buzzed with life. Just one more fix. He called out, the sound of clanking tools melding with the distant hum of engines. It was just another Saturday, where he led free car clinics for families unable to afford repairs, but today felt different. As he knelt by a rusty sedan, his son, Leo, and daughter, Mia, rushed around him, giggling. They helped pass tools, their small hands eager to learn. Mark often felt the weight of the world pressing down, bills stacking up, judgments from those who didn't understand the struggles of a single dad. But in moments like these, surrounded by his kids, laughter chased the clouds away. Later, as the sun began to set, he caught sight of a neatly dressed woman, a striking contrast to the world around him. Sarah, a local tech CEO, had been invited to speak at the community event he was organizing. She stood there, her business suit pristine amidst the backdrop of fading graffiti and scattered tire parts. And yet, when she exchanged ideas with the community, Mark noticed her passion. She wasn't just here for FaceTime, she genuinely cared, and it tugged at his heart. Just then, a local politician strutted in, all bravado. "This is nothing but a show." He scoffed, dismissive, like many others who underestimated their community's fire. Mark could feel anger brewing inside him as they listened to whispers of judgment. "This isn't just an event, it's our life," he argued, needing to stand up not just for his kids but for everyone around him. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue." As chaos erupted, Mark turned to Sarah, his eyes reflecting the depths of his worries. "I just want to show my kids their strength in trying, even when it feels impossible," he confessed, a lump in his throat. Surprisingly, tears glossed over Sarah's eyes. In him, she saw a rawness that shattered her polished armor. Here stood a man who faced adversity daily yet found courage to seek change. Together, they began to forge a plan merging both worlds, her strategic mind and his heartfelt understanding. It became more than just bills or businesses, it was about reaching real families with warmth, offering them more than just help but hope. As they prepared for the community meeting set to reshape their initiative, the stakes soared. Mark and Sarah stood side by side, each pulse quickening as uncertainty loomed. Would Ridgewood accept their partnership? Or would they see it as just another failed attempt from outsiders? With hope pulsing through Mark's core, he felt ready to step into the fray and forge a better path not just for his children but for the whole community. Their worlds were colliding, and the question echoed in their hearts, were they brave enough to face it together? Mark's heart raced as he took a deep breath, scanning the faces of those gathered around the makeshift stage. The dimming light cast long shadows, making the scene feel almost surreal. Echoing murmurs circled through the crowd, filled with skepticism but also curiosity. Sarah positioned herself next to Mark, her demeanor calm, inspiring him to dig deep for courage. "Thank you all for coming," Sarah began, her voice clear and strong. "We're here today because we believe in the power of community. We see you, and we want to work with you, not above you." Her words sparked a flicker of hope in Mark's chest. He watched as the audience reacted, some nodding, others still wearing wary expressions. Mark stepped forward, feeling the weight of the moment pressing against him. "You know the struggles here, we've all been there in one way or another," he said, his heartfelt tone empowering. "Together, as a community, we can create jobs, revitalize our neighborhoods, and support one another." A young father at the front squinted in disbelief. "What makes you think you can help us? You're just strangers." Mark locked eyes with him. Because I'm not just a stranger. I'm someone who knows what it feels like to do everything for my kids. I'm here, in the trenches, like you. And I believe we can make something real happen. The crowd shifted, energy building momentum as murmurs grew louder. Mark noticed Sarah's determined nod, and it encouraged him to continue. With Sarah's resources and our local insight, we can guide this community towards real solutions. This partnership is about listening, learning, and lifting each other up. Just then, the politician who had earlier dismissed their gathering stepped forward. You're just trying to give people false hope. This place is beyond saving. Mark clenched his fists, but instead of lashing out, an idea sparked in his mind. Hope isn't just something to give, it's something we have to build together. The real change comes from the ground up, and we are ready to build. For a moment, silence blanketed the gathering, disbelief morphing into cautious anticipation. Sarah seized the opportunity, her voice cutting through the tension. I understand your skepticism. Every promise feels like just that until it becomes reality. We don't expect you to trust us overnight, we want to earn your trust with our actions. Mark felt warmth bloom in his chest. He turned to Sarah, admiration washing over him. They were carving a path, bridging worlds, turning doubts into possibilities. The crowd stirred, unease mingling with intrigue, whispering amongst themselves. As people began to lean in, Mark caught a glimpse of hope in their eyes, an echo of his own yearning for change. One of the older women in the back broke the quiet, her voice trembling slightly. What if we don't know how to start? Where do we fit into this? Mark stepped back, sensing the vulnerability in her question. You fit in by showing up, by sharing your stories and dreams. Each voice here matters. We've all seen hardship, but it's time to lift our voices together. He scanned the crowd, searching for signs of connection as they absorbed his words. He could feel their collective heartbeat quickening. There was a spark simmering, and he wanted to fan it into a flame. Let us create something beautiful, together. Let us show Ridgewood what happens when we unite. He finished with a clenched fist raised high, adrenaline surging. A ripple of applause broke out, hesitant at first, but it grew stronger. Mark felt a surge of energy, the crowd slowly transforming into a solid entity, a community ready to consider a different future. But just as the night seemed to embrace hope, Mark's phone buzzed in his pocket. It was from Leo. Dad, come home soon. Something's wrong at the house. Mark's heart sank, a knot forming in his stomach. He glanced at Sarah, fear flashing across his face. I need to go. She urged, her eyes filled with understanding. We'll pick up where we left off. As Mark hurried toward the exit, the crowd's hopeful chants filled the air behind him, but dread clung to him like fog. What awaited him at home? He needed to protect his children, to keep them safe. And as he ran, one question loomed in his mind: would the strength he found within the community be enough to face the storm brewing at home? Mark raced down the street, each footfall echoing his mounting dread. The lively chants of the crowd behind him faded into a distant hum. He fought to quell the rising panic, focusing on the rhythmic beat of his heart. Leo's message played over and over in his mind, twisting like a knife. Something's wrong. Approaching his small home, Mark's breath hitched. The porch light flickered, casting ominous shadows. The door stood ajar, a sliver of worry clawing at his gut. He slipped inside, his heart pounding louder than ever. Leo. He called out, his voice tense. Silence answered, stretching out like a thin veil over the heavy atmosphere. He moved deeper into the house, each creak of the floorboards amplifying his sense of urgency. The living room appeared undisturbed but for the scattered toys strewn across the floor, remnants of a happy afternoon. Mark's gut twisted, and he pressed forward. He glanced at the kitchen, half expecting to find Leo preparing a late-night snack, his adventurous spirit always leading him toward culinary chaos. But emptiness loomed where laughter and warmth should have been. Leo. He shouted again, this time the worry colorfully splashed on the walls of his voice. Mark bolted toward the hallway, heart racing. It was then he spotted Claire, his youngest daughter, seated on the staircase, her small frame curled in on itself. She was quivering, tears shimmering in her wide eyes, every shadow around her magnifying the fear etched on her tiny face. Claire! What happened? He knelt beside her, panic giving way to protective instinct. Seeing him, she leaped into his arms. Daddy! It's Leo. He was upset. He went to his room. Without wasting a moment, Mark released her and rushed to Leo's room. The door was closed, and he knocked gently, unsure of what awaited him. The muffled sound of Laura's sobs quivered through the wood and stilled him. Leo, buddy, can I come in? Yes. His voice cracked with tension. Mark opened the door, and there lay Leo, sprawled on his bed, hands tugging at the comforter as if it could shield him from the storm inside. Mark's heart ached at the sight of his son, so young yet already bearing burdens. What's wrong? Mark sat on the edge of the bed, keeping his voice soft. I messed up, Dad. I didn't mean to, but I got into a fight at school. Leo's words spilled out, and Mark could see the guilt written all over his son's face. Mark took a deep breath, instantly wishing he had the right words to ease his son's turmoil. Fights happen, Leo. But you need to tell me what led to that. You know I always want to listen. For a moment, the heavy air in the room thickened with tension. Then Leo surrendered to tears, and Mark reached out, pulling him in close. I just wanted to defend my friends. They were calling them names. I didn't think I'm scared, Dad. What if they turn on me next? Mark felt an overwhelming swell of emotions. He realized that, in that moment, Leo was looking for more than just comfort. He craved reassurance, strength. Son, standing up for your friends takes courage. You fought for what you believed was right. That's important. As they embraced, Mark recalled Sarah's words about community, about standing together. He felt the weight within him lighten slightly, not in the face of Leo's conflict, but because he understood that the true work of building strength and resilience started here, at this moment, within his own family. Listen, we'll face this together, Mark said, his voice steadying. You're not alone, and I'm proud of you for speaking up. A flicker of hope sparkled in Leo's eyes, as if Mark had transformed his son's fears into something tangible, something they could tackle. But as they shared a small moment of solace, Mark couldn't shake the feeling that what awaited outside their door could still be daunting. The very community he'd just begun to build was facing struggles of its own, and if he was to lead his family in this fight, he needed to connect those battles with the bigger picture. They'd have to engage together. Mark stood up, determination flooding through him. From here on out, you and I will learn how to turn our fears into strength, just like I'm trying to do with everyone else. Leo looked up, a small smile breaking through his tears. Mark took a deep breath, feeling the warmth of hope ignite between them. And we'll start by inviting everyone in. Together, we can create change. As he brushed his son's hair back, imagining the possibilities, a single thought struck him: would their newfound strength be enough to also embrace the townspeople's fears? The storm outside was gathering, and Mark knew the biggest challenge was just beginning. Mark stepped out of Leo's room, feeling a little more hopeful, but still weighed down by uncertainty. The quiet of the house had offered a brief respite, but the anxiety tugged at him again. Claire was still sitting on the stairs, her small hands clasped tightly in her lap. Claire, sweetie, why don't you come help me in the kitchen? Mark said, trying to lighten the mood. She nodded slowly and rose, but her eyes were still shadowed with worry. As they entered the kitchen, Mark spotted a few dishes piled in the sink. How about we make some cookies? Something sweet might help, right? He pulled out the ingredients as Claire climbed onto a stool, her little body trembling slightly. She helped him measure out the flour, her small hands working diligently under his watchful eye. Mark reveled in the small moments, like the way Claire's face brightened when they poured chocolate chips into the mixing bowl. But as he stirred, he couldn't shake the tension lingering in the air. The world outside felt stormy, but he wanted this to be a safe haven, at least for now. "Dad," Claire asked, breaking the comfortable silence. "Is Leo gonna be okay?" Mark paused, the wooden spoon hanging in midair. "Yeah, he's gonna be okay. We just have to be there for him. Sometimes when things get tough, we need our family more than ever." "Like superheroes?" Claire's eyes sparkled with hope. "Exactly. Just like superheroes. We have to look out for each other." As they baked, laughter began to bubble up between them, filling the kitchen with warmth that contrasted sharply with the uncertainty that lingered outside. Claire's giggles, the smell of vanilla, and the warm, gooey cookie dough soothed Mark's restless heart, even if just for a moment. Once they pulled the trays out of the oven, the sweet aroma enveloped them like a comforting blanket. They sat at the table, munching on their creations, and for a little while, everything felt right again. Yet, as the laughter faded to a gentle hum of contentment, the weight of looming challenges settled in. Mark couldn't ignore the unease that came creeping back. He knew they weren't just home-baking cookies, they were learning to face the reality outside, a reality where Leo's courage would be tested, where Mark's newfound determination would need to translate into action. "Claire, I need you to promise me something," he said, gazing deep into her big, innocent eyes. "If ever anyone makes you feel small or scared, you have to come tell me, okay? We're a team. We protect each other." She nodded solemnly, her brows furrowing with innocence mixed with understanding. "I promise, Daddy." Just then, there was a knock on the door. Mark smiled at Claire. "I'll get it. Stay here, okay?" As he opened the door, a wave of fresh air washed over him. Standing there was Sarah, his neighbor and a strong advocate for community unity. She looked worried, her brows furrowed, and something told him that whatever news she brought couldn't be good. "Mark, we need to talk," she said, glancing over her shoulder into the dim street. His stomach churned. "What's wrong?" Her voice dropped to a whisper, almost conspiratorial. "It's about the fight, and what's coming next. If we don't act now." Mark felt that familiar knot of anxiety tighten once more. He took a deep breath, silver linings appearing in his thoughts for just a fleeting moment. Could they unite the community against whatever was looming? As Sarah's words hung in the air, he sensed that this was only the beginning of their fight. "Let's talk inside. I think we might need a plan," Mark offered, his heart racing with urgency. As Sarah stepped over the threshold, Mark realized the stakes had just gotten higher. How deep did the roots of fear run? And could he truly be the strength this community needed to fight back? As the door clicked shut, he braced himself for whatever revelations awaited. Mark led Sarah into the living room, the comforting aroma of freshly baked cookies still hanging in the air, juxtaposing the tense atmosphere between them. Claire remained in the kitchen, her innocent questions echoing in his mind as he motioned for Sarah to sit down. "Can you tell me what exactly is happening?" Mark asked, trying to keep his voice steady. He needed to focus, to be present. The uncertainty weighed like a heavy blanket on his shoulders. Sarah took a deep breath, her eyes darting around the room before landing back on him. "I heard about tension rising between the groups. There's talk of a confrontation, the kind that could get really dangerous if we don't address it. People are scared, Mark. Some are even considering leaving." His heart sank. The very idea of his neighbors packing up and running made his stomach churn. He had always prided himself on being the kind of person who faced problems head-on. "And what do you think we should do?" "Rally the community. We need to show everyone that we're stronger together," Sarah said, her voice a mix of urgency and conviction. "If we can arrange a meeting, we might be able to unite everyone, talk through their fears." Mark felt a flicker of hope ignite inside him. "You're right. But how do we do it? Who would even come? We can start with those we know will stand with us. We need to reach out to the neighborhood watch, local schools, and churches. If we show people that unity isn't just possible, but necessary, they might find the courage to stand up. Mark nodded. The idea felt right, like a force pushing against despair. It reminded him of the very foundation of what it meant to be a family, a community, people coming together in times of trouble. "Let us get the word out," he said, determination flooding his voice. "We'll set up a meeting for this weekend, right here." "Exactly," Sarah agreed, her eyes reflecting a mix of fear and hope. "But we also need to prepare ourselves. Not everyone will see this as a peaceful effort." Mark's chest tightened at her words, but he couldn't let fear dictate their actions. "We'll ensure everyone knows it's about collaboration, not conflict. The more people involved, the stronger our message will be." As they finalized their plans, the door creaked open slightly. Claire peeked around the corner, her curious face still dusted with flour. "What is going on?" Mark smiled gently, inviting her in. "Just working on a big plan to help our friends outside. You know, superheroes don't just wear capes." "What do they wear?" Claire raised her brow, a hint of mischief in her eyes. "They wear kindness and stand up for what's right," Mark replied, ruffling her hair playfully. Her laughter broke the thick air like a breaking dawn, spreading light over their serious conversation. But as quickly as it happened, Mark felt another pang of worry. "What if people don't want to help, Sarah?" He turned back to his neighbor, anxiety prickling at him again. "What if it falls apart?" Sarah placed a hand on his shoulder, grounding him. "Then we still show up, for the ones who do care. We can't let fear stop us from trying." Mark squeezed his eyes shut, the weight of responsibility heavy on his heart. Could this truly work? Could he really bring about a change, not just for himself but for everyone? After Sarah left, Mark sat back, already crafting his strategy. He needed to reach out, gather allies, and prepare for the weekend. But deep down, where the shadows of doubt resided, another thought loomed: if they did draw the line in the sand, would they be ready for whatever might come after? Just then, his phone buzzed. An old friend from the neighborhood texted, asking to meet. It felt like a lifeline reaching out, an unexpected ally in troubled waters. As Mark stared at his screen, he hesitated. That spark of connection could lead to something significant, but what if it dragged him further into the chaos? The stakes were rising, and he felt the anxiety shift into determination. He typed back quickly, eager to weave another thread in this tapestry of resistance they were starting to build. What connections would this lead to? And could it truly push back the darkness threatening to engulf them all? Mark's fingers hovered over his phone, the anticipation thrumming through his veins. The message read simply, "Let us meet. I have something to discuss." It was from Jamie, an old friend from high school, someone he hadn't seen in years. Jamie had always been the kind of guy who made things happen, the type that people rallied around when times got tough. Taking a deep breath, Mark hit send, confirming their meetup for later that evening. Claire peeked out from the kitchen, bright-eyed and curious as she crouched on the edge of the couch. "Daddy, is it time for cookies yet?" "Almost time," he grinned, ruffling her hair again. The sweet smell of cookies was comforting, but the weight of anxiety still resided in him. "Can I help?" Her eagerness was infectious, and for a moment, Mark forgot about the looming danger outside their walls. "Of course. You can help me decorate," he replied, a smile creeping back onto his face. Together, they pulled out sprinkles and icing, laughter mixing with the sweet aroma filling the room. But even in the light-hearted chaos, his mind was racing. Images of confrontation and fear danced behind his eyelids. Each smile from Claire felt like a small reminder of what was at stake. That evening, he arrived at the local diner where Jamie awaited him. The warm glow of the neon lights illuminated Jamie's tired smile, emphasizing the lines etched by years of hard work. He stepped into the role of a local business owner since graduation, thriving even while challenges piled up around him. "Hey, Mark. Jamie's familiar carefree tone pulled Mark from his spiraling thoughts. "Good to see you, man," Mark said, shaking his friend's hand firmly. They settled into a booth, the softness of the vinyl providing a brief comfort amidst the tension of their conversation. "So, I heard things have been a bit intense in the neighborhood," Jamie began, already knowing why they were seated across from each other. Mark hesitated. "Yeah, there's a lot of fear about potential conflict brewing. I'm trying to rally our community to come together." Jamie leaned forward, engaged. "That's good. You're always the one to face things head-on. But what can I do?" Mark's heart fluttered. "I could use all hands on deck. If you could help spread the word, maybe even use some of your connections at the shop to invite people." "Absolutely. I know plenty of folks who would want to support that," Jamie replied. "Although, you need to prepare for the hard conversations that are bound to come up." "Yeah, I know," Mark sighed, running a hand through his hair, frustration building. "What if it doesn't work? What if we fail? Then you'll know you did everything you could. And sometimes, it's finding strength in the failure that brings change," Jamie replied wisely, placing a reassuring hand on Mark's shoulder. Those words settled into Mark's chest, igniting a determination that had dimmed earlier. He was reminded that the weight of fear could be overcome with shared purpose. As they continued their discussion, excitement began to replace doubt. Jamie suggested strategies, highlighting community resources that Mark had yet to tap into. Hope swelled within him. If they worked together, they could truly create something meaningful. After an hour of brainstorming, Mark's phone buzzed again. It was a text from Sarah, asking for an update. He smiled, feeling the momentum build within him. They had a real chance. On his way back home, Mark's heart raced not just with anxiety, but with a fierce determination. He was ready to face whatever came next. The community meeting was drawing closer, and despite the uncertainty, he felt an undeniable sense of unity taking form. As he entered the living room, Claire was sprawled out on the couch, her eyes half closed, the remnants of their baking adventure scattered around her. He knelt beside her, brushing a stray hair from her forehead. "Hey, kiddo. You ready to be a superhero tomorrow?" Her eyes sparkled with sleepy excitement. "Always, Daddy." Mark smiled. Their drive to support each other pulsated like the heartbeat of a community coming alive. But as he settled down to join her, a chilling thought shot through his mind: when push came to shove, would they really be able to stand together against the storm swirling just beyond their front door? Tomorrow would bring new challenges, and he could feel the tension thickening in the atmosphere. The morning light seeped through the curtains, illuminating Claire's sweet face as she stirred awake. Mark had already been up for a while, pacing the kitchen and trying to gather his thoughts. Today was the day. The community meeting would take place at the park later that evening, and he felt the weight of the world on his shoulders. Claire shuffled into the kitchen, rubbing her eyes. "Daddy, are you okay?" Mark knelt down to her level, forcing a smile. "Just thinking about our big meeting tonight. We're going to help people, kiddo." She looked up at him, her eyes filled with a mix of sleep and encouragement. "You're going to be the best superhero ever." Her faith in him felt like a warm embrace, and he let out a small chuckle, the nervousness uncoiling just a bit. He whipped up pancakes, the smell filling the air, making Claire beam with delight. Breakfast together was their little ritual, and in those moments, the chaos of the world outside faded away. After breakfast, Mark got Claire ready for school. On their drive, she chattered away about her friends and the art project they were working on. But just as quickly, her enthusiasm faded. "What if no one shows up tonight, Daddy?" Mark's heart sank. Her fear echoed his own. "What if they do? What if we all come together?" Claire nodded, but her brow still furrowed. He took a deep breath, trying to mask the uncertainty swirling inside him. "You know, sweet pea, change starts small. And we might not see it right away, but every step counts." Her small fingers grasped his hand. "Okay, Daddy. I believe in you." After dropping her off at school, Mark took some time to regroup at a local coffee shop. He pulled out his phone, scrolling through contacts, hoping some friendly faces would pop into view. Then, he saw Sarah's name. It felt right to reach out. "Hey, Sarah. Are you coming tonight?" Her quick response was almost immediate. "Wouldn't he miss it for the world. Let's catch up before it starts." Mark sent a thumbs-up emoji, feeling more determined than before. Sarah was supportive, and they shared a history of working together on projects. Relying on her would help ground him. By the afternoon, he found himself engulfed in posters and flyers, while the hours rolled by. Washing the lingering tension from his brain, he hung signs that screamed "Join us." Across the park, breathing in the fresh air. Each poster felt like a plea to the universe, pulling the community together. As the sun dipped lower, a group of familiar faces began to trickle in. Neighbors waved, others stopped to chat about children's soccer games, and an excited buzz started to grow. Mark's heart raced as he offered welcomes and smiles, grounding himself in this shared purpose. Sarah arrived, her energy electric. "You did this. Look at everyone." Mark chuckled, taken aback by her enthusiasm. "I just posted a few signs. No, you brought them together. It's bigger than just signs. It's about community," she said, her voice impossibly steady. Mark felt his chest expand with hope for the first time today. He scanned the gathering crowd, people he hadn't spoken to in years, shared stories and laughter. There was a semblance of unity forming right before his eyes, and it ignited something deep within him. He took a moment to gather everyone's attention as darkness settled in, the park illuminated by strings of soft lights. A quick hush swept over the crowd, and he stood, gripping the microphone, feeling the weight of responsibility. Before he could begin, a figure stepped forward from the back. It was Jamie, with a purposeful stride that drew every gaze. "Before we start, I'd like to introduce someone special." Mark's heart thudded. What was going to happen? Jamie's voice rang out, "This is Sarah, a woman who has not only broken barriers but has the vision to help us all rise stronger. Together." The crowd murmured lightly, curiosity swirling. Mark's heart raced. Sarah. A moment of realization hit. It wasn't just about him anymore. As he looked at her, confidence brimming in her eyes, he knew the evening was about to become more than he had ever anticipated. Emboldened by this twist, he leaned in closer to the microphone, ready to see where this journey would lead. "Together, we'll be more than just neighbors. We'll be a strength impossible to break." But as he heard the whispers of doubt and solidarity mix in the crowd, one terrifying question echoed in his mind: would that strength be enough when faced with the true test beyond their neighborhood? Mark took a deep breath, steadying himself as he caught Sarah's eye. The energy in the air felt almost electric, alive with anticipation. He glanced at the faces around him. Some were hopeful, others were skeptical, and a few seemed lost in their own thoughts. This wasn't just another meeting. It was a call to action, a lifeline for his community, and it was his job to make them believe. "Thank you, Jamie," he said, his voice slightly shaky but gaining strength from the support surrounding him. "And thank you all for coming tonight. It means more than you know. We're here to share ideas, to voice our concerns, and to start working together." He paused, the microphone cool against his palm, and scanned the crowd. Murmurs floated back to him, and for a moment, he felt small. What if this all came crashing down? What if he failed? As panic bubbled up, he caught sight of Claire's drawing from breakfast, tucked safely in his pocket. Her little stick figures were vibrant with color, a reminder that sometimes, hope comes wrapped in the simplest of forms. After a moment, he pressed on. "We face challenges every day. But I believe, deep down, we all want the same thing: a place where our children can thrive, where neighbors lift each other up, where we're all part of something bigger." The mood shifted, heads started nodding, and he could see it start to resonate. A flicker of understanding passed through the crowd, and he felt the warmth of possibility blossom in his chest. Sarah has ideas that can help us. She knows what it means to rise from struggle, she's done it herself. Mark gestured toward her, hoping to pass the baton of energy he felt in that moment. As she stepped up, the crowd seemed to lean in closer. Sarah radiated confidence, her words cutting through the night air like a beacon. Thank you, Mark. We know our community has been through tough times, but together, we can create pathways for our kids, for our families. Economic growth, education, let us reclaim our voices. Her conviction sent a ripple of excitement through the group. For the first time, people were exchanging hopeful glances and murmuring about the possibilities. As Sarah spoke, Mark's heart warmed. The community he always wanted to fight for was finally showing its spirit. It was like watching a garden bloom after a long winter. He could see the frustration evaporate, replaced by a determination that sparked conversations around them. Yet, in the back of his mind, doubts echoed. This momentum felt fragile. Would they stand together when the challenges truly began? The night had sparked a fire, but would it last through the trials ahead? Suddenly, a commotion erupted from the back. A man stumbled forward, face twisted in frustration. Mark's heart dropped. This was how it was supposed to go. He exchanged worried glances with Sarah. What about the crime in our neighborhood? The man shouted, drawing attention like a magnet. What are we going to do about that? Words are just words if we can't feel safe. A hush fell over the crowd as the challenge hung thick in the air. Mark's chest tightened. The reality of their struggles was real and immediate. Tension crackled through the group. Sarah opened her mouth to respond, but Mark felt compelled to step in. You're right. He shouted, the urgency spilling from him. But change doesn't happen overnight. We can't just talk about it, we need to gather our voices, push for action, support one another. His words ignited a roar of agreement from the crowd, and he felt uplifted by the shared anger and passion. Gripping the microphone tighter, Mark's voice rang clear. We're all in this together. Let us harness this energy, turn it into a movement. Let us start with a neighborhood watch, community meetings, make sure our voices are not just heard but felt. The man who spoke first nodded, the tension in his face softening, and that was all it took. The buzz of hope returned. People shared ideas, brainstormed solutions, a unity blossoming in the darkness that was stronger than before. Yet as excitement built, an edge of worry lingered. In Mark's mind. He knew this was just the beginning. Was this unity just a flame waiting to be snuffed out by the first storm that came their way? Just as he contemplated this, Claire appeared at the edge of the crowd, her small figure glowing in the soft light. Daddy! She called, her voice piercing through the noise. His heart swelled. What would she think of all of this? How would she see the strength they found together? With a resolve that filled him, he knew that tonight wasn't just about them, it was about creating a future for her, and for every child in their community. But the question loomed large: how would they stand against the real tests to come, tests that might threaten to unravel the very fabric they were trying to weave? Mark's heart raced as he spotted Claire pushing her way through the crowd, her bright smile cutting through the tension that hung in the air like a thick fog. He wanted to reach out, to assure her that they were fighting for a better future. But before he could react, Sarah's voice broke through his thoughts. Let us take a moment to address the very real fears that exist in our community, she said, now fully aware of the tension the frustrated man had introduced. The crowd turned back towards her, their energy shifting again, but this time it was focused, almost laser-like. Crime is a concern, and it affects all of us, especially our children, Sarah continued, her voice steady. But we can't combat fear with fear. We need to respond with unity and resolve. What if we organized regular meetings with local law enforcement? What if we partnered with local businesses to provide youth programs? Together, we can create a safer environment for our families. Mark watched as the crowd murmured, nodding in agreement. Her ideas stirred hope within him, making him feel lighter. This was the kind of leadership they needed, someone who could respond with action instead of reaction, would inspire instead of intimidate. As the voices among the crowd grew animated again, Mark realized he had to step up, too. He was all in. "It's about more than just listening to our concerns," he announced. "It's time we put our feet to the ground. I'll organize that first neighborhood watch meeting. Let's find volunteers eager to protect their streets." Cheering erupted, filling the room with energy that hadn't been there before. For the first time that night, he felt unshakable. They were not just a group of individuals anymore, they were becoming a community, breathing life into ideas that echoed their fears but also their dreams. Claire bounced up beside him, her small face filled with excitement. "Daddy, are we going to make everything better? Like in my drawing?" He caught a glimpse of the colorful stick figures dancing on the paper she had given him that morning. It reminded him that change was about hope, a simple, powerful force. "Yes, sweetheart, we are," Mark assured her, pulling her close. "This is just the beginning." But as he said those words, a nagging feeling settled deep inside him. How would they manage to keep this momentum? How could they sustain it when the harsh realities of life threatened to stomp on their hopes? The shadows that had loomed over his heart since he took on this fight were creeping back, whispers of doubt echoing in his mind. As the meeting wore on, laughter erupted from a corner of the room, and Sarah smiled, encouraging that laughter and camaraderie. "Let us create spaces where we connect, lean on each other without hesitation, and lift each other up." The way she rallied the group reminded Mark of the strength she displayed just weeks ago when her own firm had struggled. Her resilience had sparked something in him, wielding an infectious energy that had changed his perspective. Yet in all this connectedness, a new worry began to take shape in Mark's chest. This isn't just about rallying support. What if Sarah's vision didn't match the reality they were up against? What if her strength was met with an unyielding force that could tear them apart? As laughter filled the room and small groups formed around brainstorming ideas, he briefly caught Sarah's eye. She was beaming, radiating hope that felt so vibrant it could almost drown out his doubts. But just as quickly as it blossomed, a shadow crossed her face when she caught sight of something behind him. Mark followed her gaze, tension building again. Standing in the entrance, arms crossed, was a figure he recognized all too well: David, the very man who had openly scoffed at their efforts in the past. Mark's heart hammered as he sensed the potential threat David posed to their fragile progress. What would he say? Would he dismiss their hopes as naive? The crowd's energy shifted once more, uncertainty rippling through them as David stepped forward, an inscrutable expression locked on his face. Mark's breath caught in his throat, the weight of that moment settling heavily above him. What would David's presence mean for their blossoming momentum? Would they be able to withstand the scrutiny that was sure to follow? "Let us just keep our heads up and stay strong," Mark whispered to himself, trying to suppress the tension in his chest. He turned to face David, praying for a miracle. "Mark," David's tone cut through the air, icy and direct. "You really think this is going to work? People will always be people, and some just can't be changed." The crowd muttered, a mix of doubt and anger swirling like a tempest. Mark's heart pounded. He saw the determination in Sarah's eyes, and it urged him to speak. "David, we're not here to change anyone overnight. We're asking for everyone to step up, confront our fears, and come together. You of all people know how much we've suffered alone," Mark said, holding David's gaze. "Yeah, but facing reality isn't just a pep talk." David fired back, frustration echoing through the park. A few heads nodded in agreement, and Mark could feel the waves of uncertainty washing over the group. But in that moment of tension, Mark remembered Leo and Claire's faces. He thought of his own journey, how he had learned to lean on the community when times got tough. Mark straightened up, determination replacing fear. "Change is hard, but we're already doing it right here, right now. Let us not let fear win. We can become the example for our kids." He paused, allowing those words to settle in. There was a slight shift among the crowd, a few murmurs of support. David hesitated, his arms uncrossing, uncertainty flickering in his eyes. Can't change the world with slogans. But maybe, just maybe, if we stick together. David hesitated, and Mark could see the tension in him loosen as he glanced around at the crowd that was his community. You're right. Sarah added, breaking into the moment. It doesn't happen overnight, but it starts here, with us coming together, creating safe spaces for our children, being the heroes our community needs. There was a shift in the atmosphere, hope was starting to win out over fear. Mark took a deep breath, feeling the air fill his lungs with possibility. Let us open the floor. Everyone has a voice here. What are your ideas on what we can actually do? He felt like he was opening a dam. People began to speak, ideas bouncing from one person to another like balls in a pool. A woman volunteered to help start a neighborhood watch group. Someone else suggested creating a mentorship program for kids needing a safe haven. Voices rose in strength, echoing the solutions together. Amid this cascade of ideas, he caught Claire's attention. She stood by Sarah, her innocence shining like a beacon of light. He smiled through the chaos. The fear he felt was still there, but it was now intertwined with excitement. These were his people, and they were fighting for a future they all wanted. As the meeting wore on, the previously muted energy had transformed into an electrifying bond, even David nodding along as the suggestions flowed. They began to draw blueprints for community pride, turning concerns into proactive plans. Mark. Sarah called, excitedly. This is beautiful. Look at the momentum we're building. She twinkled with the spirit of change. Just as Mark began to feel an overwhelming sense of pride, the night faded, and Claire tugged at his shirt. Daddy, her eyes searched his. Is it really going to be okay? What if someone tries to stop us? He knelt down and took her small hands in his. Sweetheart, even when things feel tough, we've got each other. We will keep trying, and together, we can face anything. Believe in each other, and trust me, that alone is powerful. She smiled, visibly reassured. Mark stood, feeling that he had not just reassured her, he had renewed his own sense of strength. This community needed to stand together not just in hope, but in action. As the meeting concluded, voices echoed with promise. Claire tugged on his hand, leading him toward the food table, but Mark turned back to the crowd one last time. Remember this feeling, he began, heart racing with passion. This is just the start of something incredible. Lingering doubts resurfaced momentarily, but they faded as more smiling faces turned towards him. Courage mingled with anticipation in the air, a feeling that they were on the brink of something great. Away from the park, in the shadows where David once stood, he caught a glimpse of resolving strength in his stance, and it clung to Mark like a warm embrace. Perhaps he wasn't alone in this after all. The night moved on, full of warmth and laughter, and he realized the fight for change started with visible connection, and it flourished through trust and love. With Claire beside him, he felt ready to chase tomorrow's dawn together. They'd face whatever came their way, not just as individuals but as a united community. And isn't that what true transformation looks like? As the night wrapped up, Mark couldn't shake the feeling that this was a pivotal moment. So, as the last conversations echoed into the chilly night, he decided, this would only be the beginning. He turned to Claire, her face lit like a beacon under the stars. Are you ready for more adventures? I've always been ready, Daddy. She said, full of life. Mark chuckled softly, knowing there was work ahead. But with love, resilience, and a community behind him, he felt prepared for whatever storms might come. If you're inspired by this incredible journey, you need to subscribe now to our channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Seriously, it makes a difference. Comment below with your reactions and feelings about the ending. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Only true fans like you understand the importance of supporting our channel through these actions.